Good morning, colleagues. It is my honor to host Commissioner Dr. Amani, High Excellency Dr. Amani Abou-Zeid, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy of the African Union, to deliver her, maybe this is the last press briefing with the media in this house, and to brief you about her activities during her tenure.
The last as Commissioner.
Yes, yes, but you will meet them in other capacities, by the grace of God. The floor is yours, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my brother, and allow me at the outset to welcome you all to the African Union and to this session that is historic. I'm sure you all followed the events throughout the week, and we are all extremely proud because, again, Africa, through its highest institution, the African Union, is proving to be a beacon of democracy, an exemplary, an example to follow in terms of transition of power, and also it demonstrated the wealth of talents, of great people that we are having in our continent, as per the wonderful candidates that we have been seeing to the different offices of the African Union. So we have a lot to celebrate this week as Africans, and as such, I have the great honor to maybe with you go through some of the, not all, it's not an exhaustive list, but at least some of the highlights, the high points and the milestones we have been through and that we have accomplished through 2 terms, the terms of my election, so 8 years since 2017 to date. The 2 terms had one, we were, of course, building on what was accomplished before and what was done before, and continuing what was some of the work that was done before. The second component, or the second pillar, is that you would all recall that 2020, 2021 were particularly different and difficult years because of an unprecedented crisis, as we've seen through the COVID-19. So, and following that, there was the war in Europe and other world crisis, what is called poly-crisis. So the second pillar is resilience. The third pillar is finding opportunities in difficulties and in challenges, and the fourth is innovation. So many new things we have started, we have launched, we have worked on to make sure that we put the continent on the right trajectory for, and be very well prepared for what is coming, not only looking at what we are having currently. And let me start by building on what existed before, or what we have started before. One of the a famous program, our program for infrastructure development, the PIDA program. By the year 2018, the PIDA program, the first phase, was about to finish. So we launched this department, the Department of Infrastructure and Energy, launched a review of the first phase of PIDA 1 to learn from the previous 10 years to see what worked, what didn't work as we have planned, what was slow, what was accomplished on time, and to make sure that before embarking into a second phase of program for infrastructure development in the sectors of transport, energy, ICT, and water, before we do that, that we have taken stock of what was accomplished in the first phase. And in the year 2020, we spent a whole year in developing a new program, the phase 2 of PIDA the PEDA 2, which was adopted by the summit in January 2021, launching a new PEDA program that has new elements, especially elements of climate resilience, of gender sensitivity and inclusiveness, integration of urban and rural, and also making use of the smart technologies in every sector that we do. And as you know, since the year 2021, this program is in effect and has been handed over. The 70 projects that we have selected and scrutinized in this department, now 64 of them were handed to Aviation to implement. So thanks to the women and men of this department, we are really proud that a new program for infrastructure development in Africa has been developed on new basis and is subject to finance and implementation through our agency for execution, implementation of projects, Aviation. Going forward, the SATAM, the Single African Air Transport Market, a flagship project of the African Union Agenda 2063. This department was the first department to launch one of the Agenda 2063 flagship projects. It was launched in January 2018. And I'm happy to say that today we have now 39 African countries that have joined a single African air transport market, representing about 1 billion Africans, which is the market that aims to reduce the costs and the waiting time of travel by almost 20%. It's a backbone, one of the backbones in terms of transport of the free trade area to facilitate intra-African trade and mobility of people. And that also today, I hope very soon you will hear it, the summit will adopt our sustainable fuel for aviation, the strategy for sustainable aviation fuel. Again, this is within this innovation, so to make sure that Africa also is on the right trajectory, producing and manufacturing sustainable aviation fuel for us and for the world. And this was already approved by the Executive Council, and we hope that it would be adopted by the summit as well. So in terms of the single African air transport market and aviation, we have this excellent news. Not to mention that during 2021, the African air transport had a severe blow with COVID because of the total stop and hold of our air transport. Yet it is this department and it is the African Union that gathered the whole continent, and we all make sure that we speak with one voice and we address the international community, especially the UN Agency for Civil Aviation, the IATA and the WHO, and we made sure that by June 2020, our air transport was operational and implementing the guidelines, or a very strict guidelines in terms of health and safety. And this is also thanks to this department, we had this common African position on air transport, making sure that air transport in Africa has resumed in the best conditions back then. And I'm happy to say that no other region in the world has done what Africa has done in terms of air transport under COVID. And this is again another proof of our solidarity and our trust in our institutions and in our companies, airline companies. During COVID, since I am talking about COVID, together with the commissioner in charge of social affairs, together with the Africa CDC, we led the continent in the campaign Saving Lives and Saving Livelihoods, making sure that when we implement the health policies and the health guidelines, that we also still made sure that the livelihoods of people across Africa and the mobility, especially for landlocked countries, is not compromised. In terms of, I don't know why I delved into crises, but we are still, the whole world is still facing an energy emergency. And as you very well know, Africa is particularly suffering from energy poverty across the continent, whether it's in terms of electrification, in terms of viable grids, or in terms of clean cooking. This department, in addition to the projects that we have implemented through PIDA for electricity, we have established since 2017 the African Renewable Energy Program, and the program has compiled and scrutinized a number of projects in renewable energy across the continent that are being implemented in our in the different countries. We have also devised a program for geothermal energy for Eastern Africa and some island states, making use of this wonderful source of energy, geothermal, with the support of some partners and implemented by the private sector. So it's again a beacon and an exemplary way of partnership between different stakeholders. Since last year, we have developed an energy efficiency strategy, making sure that Africa will double its energy efficiency, and that is in line with the COP objectives, and that we are on the right path, as I said, in terms of renewable. One new flagship project we have introduced, and that is the African single electricity market. The purpose of this market, which we have launched in June 2021, is to ensure that by the year 2040, Africa is self-sufficient and has secured energy to everyone, and even enough to export. And that 70% of this energy comes from renewable sources. The single African electricity market is based on a detailed African master plan with the different connections between countries, with the different regulations adjustments, with the projects regarding the connections, the interconnections, the grids. So it's not just the generation, but also the grids. This is as detailed and quantified, and it was adopted in 2023. And as I said, the program, the single electricity market is underway and is being implemented with support of different African institutions. To do all this, of course, we need to have accurate information about about energy in the continent, not just generic or general terms. We need to see and to know exactly every day, every household, every neighborhood, every village and every city, what is being used and how and when and by whom. And this is the way this is the way that you create a clear pattern of energy and energy consumption. And this is done by a detailed database, which is led by our agency, the Energy Commission, which is based in Algiers. So the Africa Energy Database, all forms of energy, not just electricity. What we have seen is a new way of doing the database that is also takes into account the smart technologies, as I said. So things like smart meters to be installed and making sure of the smart technologies and smart grids and so on and so forth is also very important, both for the energy efficiency and for the databases that we are developing. moving forward, I'm not going to talk about the mini grids program, the mini hydro program, the many other components of the energy that we're doing in terms of regulation and harmonization of policies. But I want to continue also on the innovation and on this trajectory of looking forward and making sure that we use the opportunities for our continent. Today, also, I am hopeful and almost sure that the summit is going to adopt the decision regarding our green hydrogen, the Africa green hydrogen development in strategy for Africa, making sure that not only we all have a common approach in terms of producing green hydrogen, but also the green hydrogen derivatives, the industries, whether they are clean cement, green cement, or green ammonia, green fertilizers, I mean, and a green steel, for use within the continent and for export. So again, Africa is spearheading many of the new technologies in every sector, and I just named some in transport and in energy. I continue on you will have actually many information in the brief that's going to be distributed, and we're happy to add more information if you feel that you need more. Maybe I cannot not talk about digitalization, because it is this commission, I am happy that it's extremely honored that the time I was here at the African Union, that we have seen a complete and total shift and actual jump into the future when it comes to digitalization. You recall that the work of the African Union was solely focusing or mainly focusing on cybersecurity, which is important, highly important. However, we have revised the Malabo Convention to make it up to date. But more importantly, in 2020, we launched the Africa Digital Transformation Strategy, making sure that all sectors are digitalized across the continent. And not only a strategy for the continent, general one, we went sector by sector to develop specific digital strategy for education, for health, for finance, and for agriculture. And also, we continued on this path, making a clear policy on data and data generation, data conservation, data development, and data safeguarding in Africa. So the African data framework, the policy framework, which made sure that the data that we are producing in the continent, which is the real wealth of any nation or any region in this day and age, data is us, data is what is really moving the world. So to make sure that this data is generated in a way that is produced good data, usable, interoperable, and interchangeable without compromising the safety and security. So making sure that data remains African and owned by Africa, generated by Africa and owned by Africa in Africa. And since AI, I'm sure all of you now are aware that artificial intelligence, again, is topping even the political agenda, now we were never, ever late. Africa also has launched our African artificial intelligence strategy last year, and based on the data policy that we have developed, and again, is one of the one of the avant-garde or the most prominent regions who have produced such a strategy for a whole region, making sure that we benefit from this wonderful, wonderful technological advancement, which has the potential to double the GDP of Africa, but at the same time, making sure that we protect Africa from the threats and from some of the issues, I mean, serious issues that could be generated by AI, and making sure that the algorithms that AI themselves, that they are take into account our cultures, our languages, our patterns of life, and not just, you know, algorithms that are created elsewhere and they want to apply to Africa. We want them to be, again, Africa owned and Africa developed and generated. And to do that, of course, we need skillful people. We need people that who understand and can work with the new technologies, and that is why through one of African Union initiatives, Smart Africa, we have the Academy for the young people in order to develop their capacities and skills. So that is for the AI, among other things, and also develop green data centers. Africa can host the green data centers and is very much looking forward to make use of the new technologies to our benefit. In the same vein, in safeguarding or safety and security, also this commission, we are aware that our children are using the internet 24/7, both for education but also for entertainment, and this will only grow. We want to make sure that they are empowered to do so, but that there are safeguards for the safety and security of children online. And that is why we have developed a child online safety, security, and empowerment strategy. As I said, making sure they are make full use of the technology, but that they are not at all compromised. The second flagship project that we launched, I go back to transport, was an Africa-wide railways network, and I'm happy that it was adopted last summer, July. So instead of just connecting some capitals, we want the flagship project to make sure that our projects, that our railways connect the whole of the continent. There are so many other things that I can talk to, including the ones I'm going to after tomorrow, like safety, like road safety, for instance, that we have again reinforced. But maybe one of the most important accomplishments and achievements of this commission is that we made sure that Africa is highly on everyone's agenda, that is highly present in the highest arena, that we are part of all global and the most important global commissions or fora or groupings. So Africa can never be disregarded, but not only that our agenda, our priority is highly understood, and that they do not come from anyone else to tell what are Africa's priorities. We are the ones who did that. This is happening through our membership in the Broadband Commission, the highest instance in the world when it comes to digitalization. Our also membership of the Stewardship Energy Forum under the WEF, the World Economic Forum. This is happening as well in terms of energy, in terms of air transportation, and the multitude, of course, of the conventions that we have established with the most eminent institutions, making sure that we are highly present and that our voices, our common positions, including and especially in COPs, I'm sure you all followed, Africa has launched a common position on energy that was adopted by the summit of 2022 in July 2022, and since then the African common position is recognized by the world and is accepted, and they understand that our transition is different from any other region. Our time frame is different from any other region, that we are making use of all our energy resources, and with maybe increasingly adding to the renewable energy component of our energy mix. So both politically at the regional level here, or politically globally, or politically or technically globally and regionally, this commission has made sure that Africa's voice, Africa's priorities, Africa's projects are recognized and are very well heard, and that we firmly move forward based and guided by an African agenda and African priorities and not anybody else's. And I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Amani Abou-Zeid. Thank you so much for this comprehensive list of deliverables. And before we open the floor for questions of different colleagues, I would like to thank you also of your continued cooperation with the media people and media community. And thank you again. Thank you so much. Floor is open. Mention your name, please, and your institution, and you are welcome.
Before we start, you all know that I give priority to women asking questions. So I need also to hear from women reporters here present. Thank you.
Karim Hatem, Al-Qahira News and Extra News, Cairo, Egypt. In order to reach the goals that you mentioned and also face the crises that you've experienced also in the last 8 years and how Africa was resilient in front of these crises, what are the most important common strengths of the African countries, and how can these strengths be developed and built on in energy and infrastructure, because it all starts with infrastructure?
Thank you very much. I'm really happy that the first question is about strengths and not challenges, so that thank you very much. I think there is, I'm sorry to say, even some Africans undermine the solidarity of Africans and the sense of Africanity. They undermine it. And with the right leadership, pulling our resources together is extremely powerful. And you mentioned crises, and I'll give you an example. Under the COVID, what happened in Africa, and I hope that in I said that in my memoirs, I'm going to write about that. Africa has given the whole world an example of solidarity from day one, and I remember from April 2020. This continent we received the whole world, countries that are supposedly allied or united in some form or another, were fighting for PPEs. Africa received some PPEs from abroad. Our airlines, and despite the restrictions, they zigzagged the continent distributing the PPEs to everybody. Every country and every corner of this continent has been sharing whatever we have. We have been manufacturing later on some PPEs. Again, our airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, Egypt Air, Moroccan Airlines, Air Maroc, Cameroonian Airlines. I'm saying the ones that come to mind because they were exemplary, really. They went everywhere delivering PPEs, delivering medicines. We took count of the number of ventilators on the continent to make sure that together with medical teams, they go to wherever there is, a need. Our heads of states, the same week, there was a lockdown, they were together and they established the same week a fund, a COVID fund, and we all pooled resources and we put them in this COVID fund to make sure that whoever is in need of any African country to do that, to access the fund right away. And even at the private sector of Africa, and since you're Egyptian, I know that, for instance, CIB and other entities in Sweden, they put money in that fund as well. This is just an example. And moreover, speaking of the private sector from South Africa established a digital tool for the whole continent to make sure that our health certificates that allows us to move from, the mobility is digitized for the whole continent. We were all on one and same platform across the continent. I cannot not talk about our heads of states under the leadership of the President Ramaphosa, who led the even purchasing, bargaining for the vaccines every night and distributing them across the continent. No one nation was taking this, just for itself. We were all sharing whatever resource we are having. And I keep saying, poor as we are, as some think we are extremely rich. We are extremely rich thanks to our solidarity and thanks to our people. So in the face of real crisis and a global crisis, Africa rose to the challenge. I gave also the example of air transport. Africa rose to the challenge the day we called and we said we need to have a common position of air transport. We cannot have this to continue like this. Africa rose to the challenge, and with the right leadership, we were able to get what we want. Same thing for energy. Everyone was pushing us into a certain corner and forcing us to take a particular deadline, for renewable energy, or we're not going to do any investment in any other form of energy. No, we said we have a common position. We will have our priorities. We developed the common position. We went to the heads of states. They approved it. Never undermine what Africa can do. Never do that. We can do a lot. And this also thanks to the women and men, the wonderful skills that we are having across the continent. All of us across the continent, look at the wealth, look just in this room, look around you. How people, how knowledgeable, experienced they are. So don't undermine, and I'm calling on the press, please, spare us the bad news. We know that we have challenges. Spare us the bad news. We want to hear the good news. Show the good examples. Show the good African people. Show what's happening on the continent. And stop, putting us down with, demoralizing articles. You have a role to play, and this is your role to show the world what's happening. It's enough what we're seeing and hearing from everybody else who want to put us down. You have to change the narrative about Africa, and it is your responsibility. And this is my call to all of you. Thank you.
Another question, please. If we have women, no women. So, yeah, we will go for men.
Thank you, Commissioner. What's your take on the theme of the summit? That's my first question. And how could your commission translate it into concrete actions and incorporate it into policies?
Summit, what is the theme of the summit? Sorry?
Repatriation.
Huh?
The next theme, repatriation of African.
The what?
2025, repatriation.
Repatriation?
Repatriation.
The theme. I thought the team. So the theme. Well, the theme is again. Africa has been. You heard it yesterday. Many injustices were done to Africa, and it's about time, to all of us, to make sure that this not only doesn't happen again, that we are strengthened by the injustices that happened to us. I think the best way of implementing this new theme is to making sure that we look forward, that we don't look back, and that we take stock of what happened. It's true, but also to make sure that use the technology, use the science, use education, use the health advancements in order to make sure that we build a better future for ourselves and for our children, as it was said yesterday. This is my take on it. Thank you.
Yes, another question.
My name is Emmanuel. My question is about clean cooking. So, that a simple act of, the issue of clean cooking is an important issue for Africa. So, what were the achievements you have achieved so far? And then what the next plan?
Thank you very much. Again, I should have put clean cooking as the flagship achievements or projects of this commission, because we started in almost 12 years ago, before I even joined the commission. The African Union has led a very aggressive advocacy campaign, which was strengthened since 2018, particularly on clean cooking, because everyone was talking only about electricity and energy poverty in terms of electricity, but almost no one was talking about clean cooking. And it was upon us to show through statistics, through clear examples, what is happening in the continent because of the lack of clean cooking. That 90% of our population, almost 1 billion Africans, do not have clean cooking, and that clean cooking, unhealthy, unclean energy sources that are used in cooking are causing, or one of the major causes of deaths and severe injuries on the continent. So it's thanks to this continent, to the African Union, and especially the Agency for Energy Efficiency, for energy in Africa, that we have led this program for clean cooking. And we have continued with our campaign, which seen its highest in COP27, COP28. Finally, thanks to the African Union, it was put in front of the heads of states in the COP28. Before it wasn't even present on the agenda of our leaders. So 27, 28, come 29, it is Africa and the African Union. We called for a session, specialized session on clean cooking in Africa. We invited leaders from the continent also to attend, of whom Tanzania, of course, the vice president was there, to show also the work that Africa is doing in terms of technologies for clean cooking, in terms of developing the value chains for clean cooking in our continent, and also calling for the private sector to join us in this effort. And I'm happy that this culminated in an international conference that was held in Paris in May last year, May 2024, in which the presidency of Tanzania was there as well. And it's since 2018, our work with the International Energy Agency, we insisted that when we work with them, and it's in the MOU that we have established in 2018, we insisted that our work with them will definitely make sure that we have a clean cooking component. And that is why the two Africa energy reports that came out of the IEA in 2021 and 22 had a specialized section. It is thanks to this commission, again, that now our heads of states and our all institutions around the world are supporting the efforts on clean cooking. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think if we have no other questions, do you have questions? No? So thank you so much.
It
has been a pleasure also working with you.
Thank you very much.